Rogues, issue 4, Joshua Williamson writing with Leo Max on art.
Yep.
So, yeah, we kind of left off issue 3 with them having Grodd's kid and Cold wanting to use the kid as leverage, and that's where we pick up here, more or less. And yeah, they all die by the end, which is not surprising necessarily. It kind of felt like it might have had like the Dirty Dozen style thing at the end.
There is that, but there is a death of 2 characters at the end that did come as a shock.
Oh yeah,
to me. And that was executed perfectly.
There's the 2 good characters who you think might get a second chance, who are definitely the nicer of the characters, and they seem to have turned over a new leaf, and they want to do good.
Oh, that one was a heart ripper. But like, I figured Cold at the end. Cold has nothing to lose, right? So he's like, I'm going out on my feet.
He has a very I don't want to say generic because I actually quite liked it, but he has a very traditional ending for a character like that at the end of the story, where he's literally just lying on his back and it's his eyes closing and going to white. That is the end of the story. It's very multiple movies and TV shows I've seen have ended with a character dying like this, and but it seemed perfect in the context of this, and him going out the way he kind of wants to, bizarrely.
Because I like the idea that like he starts off the story by talking about how his dad was a cop, right? But he got so wrapped up in being a cop and he wasn't a good guy that mom left, right? Or did mom die? Mom's not there, so they leave him with grandpa, and he's an absentee father, and so that left the kids hungry, and so they would go beg, and it wasn't the white collar people would kind of look like they didn't exist, but it was the blue collar folks in Central that would give them full meals, and he goes, and not just the leftovers, like the hot stuff. So I always wanted to be like them, and so he has this whole working class edict to him as part of the Rogues, and at the end, it's a man that's striving for relevancy, and he just wants people to remember his name. And there's just something to that he's not just the Captain Cold of the Rogues. He is the Captain Cold, and the Rogues made him as much as he made them by the end. And, we'll get to the ending with what they say there, but maybe it doesn't go as well as he wanted, but to us readers, Len gets to go out the way that he wanted.
Yeah, there's a whole big thing where like he talks to Grodd to negotiate, and Grodd even offers him a job and tries to resolve it all peacefully. He's like, "Here's the mirror gun. Mirror Master's dead. You figure out how to open this up," because they put all his gold in the mirror universe
in a mirror dimension that only Mirror Master really could navigate, and without him, it's going to take a while. Yeah,
and it's like, but you've designed the cold gun, and you've worked with him a lot, so you get my gold back, and you can work for me. And when he basically declines, or he threatens to kill the kid, Grodd's like, "Go ahead, I can make another." And then Grodd's wife's like, "No, don't do that."
Dude, Grodd.
I know. He comes off as so vicious, but you get this big moment where Cold looks down at the mirror gun after he's been handed to it. And because Grodd's compared like working for him as you have a real job, like an assembly line, because that's what he was doing back in issue 1. He was working at an assembly line, and he was miserable. He hated doing that. He looks down at the mirror gun, and then he has this moment where he looks around at his sister, Bronze Tiger. He smiles and then snaps the gun in Grodd's face, and that's where it all goes to shit. And he starts freezing apes left and right. What's his face?
Grim, not Grim.
No,
the other one.
Heat wave. That's what I'm looking for.
Gotcha.
In my head, I was like, it's not Pyro. What's the asshole's name?
Heat wave.
Yes,
Mick.
Heat waves, like burning fools. So we get all this big payoff, this big action. There's a lot of Grodd trying to smash at him firing ice. I love that not only does Grodd end up losing a fist at one point because it's frozen. Eventually the cold gun is like damaged, and it's like, oh, you shouldn't fire that because it's going to like rupture or something. Yeah, and it does. It creates this big cold explosion. Although this is after he blows off Grodd's head with the cold gun, actually.
Yep.
So
what I like there too is so when Grodd's telling him he'll have like a position for him as a basically on the assembly line. Was that Grodd using his telepathy to get in there and really try to mess with Len.
I mean, he said he kept tabs on him, but I mean, he could just be using that.
Right. Or is it just like him guessing because that, that he wouldn't amount to much? Like, this shows the difference between Grodd and Cold, right? Is that Grodd was never part of the Rogues. He was always seen above them. So, this is him kind of giving him the dressing down that he thinks Cold deserves.
Yeah, Grodd wanted to always be like what he is now in this context, which is a ruler, a leader, someone who was in charge. And the Rogues never really necessarily were after that.
It's always the next job, right? They're always about getting the score, spending the score, doing the next score. And so, but yeah, I didn't know if that was him using his telepathy there, because there at the end he kind of has it, because that's where he thinks he has Cold dead to rights. But I do love that he goes to swing on Cold. Cold hits his fist. It breaks his hand off. And Grodd keeps coming, and it's so brutal. And Leo Max is the perfect artist for something like that.
His art here is fantastic. That entire fight is just fun to watch. And then when the cold gun starts malfunctioning, it's like, oh, you can't fire that again. And then he fires it in his mouth, which blows off his head. But it also sends Cold flying, because it's this blast of ice just in every direction. Which
then makes it snow in Gorilla City, which gives us a nice
that was beautiful.
Go off on.
Yeah,
so good.
Unfortunately, even though Glider and Tiger hand the baby back to Grodd's wife outside Gorilla City, they get shot by the squad that's been sent by Waller or whoever it is.
It's the DEO.
Sorry, Chase. Yeah, it isn't Chase. Yeah. And then it starts to snow, so we get this snowing in this Gorilla City, and it's kind of this sweet thing, and then we get this perfect ending where it's snowing, and Cole just says "cool" as his eyes shut and he dies, and that's the well, it's not the final page, but it's like his ending. And then the final page is just back at the bar, the where all the criminals went. And I'm saying, oh, did you hear the Rogues got killed? Captain Cold got them all killed in Gorilla City. But so it ends in this kind of thing where you're just looking at the photo of the Rogues on the bar. So it's just this nice. Honestly,
and he goes, and Cold always had someone else pay his tab.
Yeah,
which that's going to be his story going forward, right? That he's going to live in infamy, but people are going to know his name, which ultimately what he wanted. But it's not like Cold got them killed, right? I mean, he got the last two killed because of the DEO.
Well, he brought them all there for that mission, so I'd argue he did get them all killed.
Yeah, but it wasn't like just the whole idea that he brought them there because he had nothing left to lose either. Like, I don't know. It just felt a bit less sinister than that to me.
I don't know if I'd call it sinister. I would just say that he just didn't care. And maybe he was deluded enough to believe that he would actually pull it off. But
yeah,
I do think he is responsible for everyone's death pretty much. Certainly, like everyone in this last issue, because like everything goes down because of the choices he makes. So honestly, like I think the last page is fine, but if it ended on the eyes closing page, I think that would have worked maybe even better.
Yeah.
Like just to end with him dying like that. I think would have worked.
When Bronze Tiger, so you see him take out this army, so they point out that they would know the tunnels are there because Grodd had all the designs and whatever, and Gorilla Grimm designed it, and that they'll be coming. So as Glider and Bronze Tiger are trying to get out, they're faced with this army of gorillas, and Bronze Tiger takes them out, and that's another great page in silhouette. But he does it without breaking his vow. He doesn't kill any of them.
No,
you're just like, oh, this is so good. And then when they get out and the DEO kills them, you're just like...
It's not only that from him, but it's also the fact that Glider doesn't want to hurt the baby and gives the baby back and wants to work with kids, and that's what she was doing at the start of the story.
Right.
These two feel like they deserve a second chance, and they're just shot on sight because they're part of the Rogues. And there's a really depressing kind of ending, sadly.
Yeah.
And you could argue that's what the ending means. It's like they were paying Cold's tab.
They paid his tab, and that's where I was going to get to. Whereas everyone else kind of died in essence of the mission, where Trickster got killed because the baby and whatnot, and Mirror Master and Magenta were kind of taken advantage of. So, those two were stuck paying his tab on him trying to make a name. So, but yeah, man, no, Williamson, the Rogues, Matchman and having Leo Max with the art. Like, especially this issue, definitely hit on some of those, basket full of heads kind of gruesomeness. That Grodd fight with the stump hand, So cool.
Yeah. And the snow in this metropolis at the end looked really great as well. Just such a vibe. The idea that his influence can be felt all over the city in this snow. It represents like him just completely wrecking this place.
Yeah.
And and he forced some of the people on the mission. Remember, he went to the old folks' home or hospital to.
Yeah.
Was that Mirror Master? He was getting.
Was he at Mirror Master because he's lost his mind?
So he's forcing these people into this. Some of them anyway.
Yeah.
So like. That story is about how he's kind of understandable, but he is a bastard. He's kind of like a less successful Walter White of the DC universe.
Yeah, I definitely see that.
Right, that's how I would describe Captain Cold. He has these delusions of grandeur, but he's not as good at it as Walter White is.
And it's his ego that gets him into the trouble.
Yes.
Yeah. So. But, Cold still up there is one of my favorite villains. This does him service, I feel. If this is meant to be like, Marvel is doing the End miniseries. If this is kind of like Rogue's The End, I feel like it's a fitting end of their tale. And didn't even feature the Flash, right?
No.
And that it gets by on the strength of the characters that of Captain Cold and Grodd and that. So yeah, very very worthwhile. Glad that it did pay off.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving Rogues issue 4?
I'm giving this an 8.5.
I'm going on 9 with this one.
There you go.
It was excellent. The way it finished off his story, I just thought was really captivating. And I think the actual flow in the art and like the moment where he's like about to make the choice to snap the gun, like that's a good couple of pages of him considering and sort of looking around, and you understand everything into his head as to why he's making that choice. I just think that some of those sequences are really well done. So, 9 out of 10 for me.